Hello everybody, it's Demon here. Thank you so much for tuning into the Demoncast YouTube channel. This is Clash of Dragons Session Diary 3. So last time on the Clash of Dragons, I don't really remember. They met Akarash. Oh yeah, they killed a earth elemental thingy. That being important because Session 3 started with everybody waking up to breakfast and Azula being like, Kisuko, there's people outside waiting for you. And she's like, oh crap, what did I do? And I let that sink and just, okay, I go to the door. What? I'm like, it's a couple kids. Oh. So it was a little Oni-sen girl and a little kitsune boy, and there was a teenage Oni-kai out there. And basically they just wanted her autograph because she was this really cool person that killed a giant earth elemental in one hit, supposedly. They're kids. And she's like, yeah, I did that. I will try to remember how to spell my name as I sign my autograph. Because she's supposed to be the dumb one. C doesn't let her be the dumb one, but stats-wise, she's the dumb one. Then I had Tomlin, who is, let's go with courting Azula, sorta, but not really, because he understands Fire Islanders a little bit better. He brings her flowers. Hey, glad to see you're doing well after you were dead. Gotta go. And this was the A, be like, you know, there are people that like Azula. And B, Azula doesn't know what flowers mean. So her first reaction is, Sieg! What does it mean when somebody gives you flowers? Because Sieg's from Ironhold, he should know that. And he's trying to explain it to Azula, and Azula's not really in. She's like, oh, okay, here. Give these to Zera. To let me know what she think. So he's like, oh, okay, I do that. I'm like, oh, okay. So he goes all the way over to the Flaming Slums, goes to Zera and hands her flowers. And she knows what this means. She doesn't know what this means. But she thinks that Ironhold guys give the females flowers in exchange for sex. And she's like, I'm a little busy right now. Can we do this later? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, you get it that they do not understand this. This is a cultural thing that they don't have. So that goes back. And we flip over to Tash. At this point, Druvent is teaming up, or is running Team 2, and he's kind of out of the picture and in a different building, but he's still technically part of the group. Ben is now playing a bard. That bard is Tash, and I can't pronounce his last name, his full name. He's a half-elven guy, and he can't pronounce his full name either. We're going to have to work on that for the next one, because the next one's going to be fun. I'm like, okay, yep. So the building you're looking for over there. Now, he was supposed to come in and be like, yeah, the Earl of Berkhamsted is offering 100,000 gold for the head of Valos. And you guys are Dragon Slayers. That was the whole reason he was looking for this place. At least as far as I told him on like Thursday. Well, Sunday, he didn't remember that. He came in and asked for a job. I'm like, sure. Oh, by the way, you guys are going out to kill Valos because Azula said so. So that kind of threw me for a loop. And I had to think fast. I had to like stop the camera and think about it. I'm like, okay. DM is loading. So yeah, they meet their new person and they're like, should we do an interview or should we just send him with you and see how he does? I'm like, let's just go with us. So the party heads to Berkhamsted. where some things have changed. It's nice. Somebody goes, "Hail Valos." Oh yeah, this was the mixture of player knowledge and character knowledge, because in the previous game, so this is happening like an hour, 30 minutes to an hour previously, they were in Berkhamsted, the other party, and one of the guys says, if anybody says "Hail Valos" and they're not a guard, punch him in the face. Well, fast forward to an hour later, we're in this game, and Poro is a character in both games. So when somebody said "Hail Valos," he was like, I punch him in the face. Oh wait. So we had a discussion about whether or not that actually happens, and what Tash does to stop this from happening by putting a wall, an illusory wall, in front of Kisuku. Kisuku punches the wall, and then thinks she's really strong because she punched through a wall and didn't feel a thing. They make it through Berkhamsted. They head north to this little town that is basically claimed by Valos. First they must camp. I made this pretty little map. It was great. It was beautiful. I made them set watches. They could do some talking with each other. I think the watches is a nice thing where they actually get to converse with them and some of the NPCs and whatnot. And Sieg noticed the Inagi walking around. Now, when Sieg created his character, well, when we recreated his character to be a ranger instead of a rogue, he picked aberration as his favorite enemy, because these things were a reoccurring pain in the ass. He wanted to shoot them. And I'm like, okay, well, is it Nivira? Niverine. Niverine is throwing rocks at you to get your attention. When you do get his attention, she kind of does that shh type thing. And he's like, but they're right there and they're looking at me, but they don't notice me. And, you know, they kind of go on there. Like, he's like, okay. When everybody wakes up in the morning, he was in the last shift, he tells people this. Tash is like, I cast detect magic. I say, you're blinded. The map that I had made has them sitting, their campsite is in a giant magic circle. Niverine sets up camp by creating a giant circle. It's obviously magical. It's obviously magical. Not only can you see it on the map, you could see it, your characters can see it on the ground. Cast detect magic. It was hilarious. Alright. They make it to Valos. They make it to the town. The fort of Valos. They walk up to the gates, like, we have the head of Sterilix! We're awesome! I'm like, we'll go to get you, we'll bring you to Valos. So they're going in here and they're looking at all these men who are being trained and all these, this like entire army. And they're like, how are we going to kill Valos with all these people? I already knew the answer. I let them sweat about it in a little bit. Now Valos comes up to them in his humanoid form, and they're like, hey, we killed Sterilix. They're like, ah, I see, you're trying to bribe me to get in the higher ranks. And they're like, yeah, that's what we're doing. And they're still freaking out about how are they gonna do this, and how complicated is it gonna be to get Valos alone, and what are we gonna do? And I'm like, okay, well, you all have to roll, I think it's perception checks. And 2 of them rolled really well. Kisuku rolled terribly. I think she has a -2 to perception. I'm like, okay, Kisuku, you feel really sleepy and you're like, ugh. And they joke about that for a little bit. I'm like, no, she's not sleeping. She just almost fell asleep. The rest of you notice the entire encampment is sleeping. And they're like, wait a second. What? And Valos notices this, and he reacts to you as if you've done something. And they're like, us? It must have been you. So I kind of force a fight in that. Valos goes in. They have Dragon's Bane weapons. They start cutting through this guy like he's nothing. He gets down to below 0 health. He does not drop. No, he goes into form number 2, actual dragon form. And they were expecting this. And that was cool with them. And I gave him like a reaction because he didn't have enough time to do anything. Like, okay, this is his reaction. He is going to hit you a bunch of times and whatnot. So, they're taking on Valos. They're ripping him to shreds. They go through him quickly. Kisuku does this massive hit thing, which technically kills him. I'm like, yeah. Okay, after you do that, a disc of light goes through his neck and his head falls off. And Kisuku's like, yeah! Wait, what? We have to pause for that sound. Okay. I'm like, okay. And you notice that guy over there. That guy over there? On the palisade wall, dressed in cloak things, he's got a mask, it's got a little red dot, and some blue lines, and some other lines that go off, and like 3 lines on the other side. And they're like, oh, is this the guy who attacked Akaresh? And he's basically sucking Valos' soul out and into some type of crystal. And he's gonna throw rocks down. Now, we were joking about pop rocks previously, so Sieg's like, are they pop rocks? I'm like, they're giant pop rocks. I was like, oh, okay, serious? And Sieg's like, all right, shoot him. I'm like, okay. And he rolled a 19, and we're talking about how that sucks. That's not a crit. And I'm like, that can be a crit. I'll let you crit on that. Roll to confirm, because I think it would be cool if he seriously hurt the big bad guy, right? And he rolls his damage, and it's a stupid amount of damage. And technically, it probably would have one-shot killed this guy because he's a wizard. Wizards have low health. I'm like, okay. There's this portal coming up behind him, and he's like, well, I shoot him in the balls. I'm like, oh, I was going to have you shoot him in the mask, but... And then a discussion, well, it goes off his balls of steel that he has from attacking Akaresh and breaks his mask. I'm like, no, you can choose the balls or the mask. And then ended up going with the mask. And then later regretting it and wishing they went with his balls. Yeah, okay, you smash part of his mask and he falls backwards through his portal and disappears. Oh, by the way, those 3 stone things he threw turn into like these great big crystal golems. Shit. They found out that they can run away. Running away was a great idea, and they could just get on the cart and shoot them as they got chased, and they narrowed it down to like 1 guy, and then we went back into combat for the 1 guy, and they took him out and whatnot. So they did that. They headed back to Berkhamsted. Or heading back to Berkhamsted, they hear a crash in the forest. And they see an orange glow. Something has crashed. Tash is like, they go stealth that way. I'm like, okay, you notice a figure moving towards you. It's clearly elven, whatnot, and he's like, I say hello or something. This guy holds out his hand, puts that little ring thing that you see all these these Eldrin people do, and collapses face first. Oh, I forgot it's snowing. This whole time a storm was blowing in, and they set up camp, and it starts snowing. And I described this, and Sieg's freaking out about the snow because he'd never seen snow before. And Killbot kind of overdoes it. So there's that. And then once they get used to the snow, then there's this crash. They go after the crash. This Eldrin. This Eldrin ship crashed. And Tash goes to heal this Eldrin guy. And basically doesn't have the arcana to do it so much as using his own life force to do it, which is really weird. And he does heal him. He sacrifices his own hit points to heal this guy, and then they go pull a bunch of people out of this wreckage as this weird ship with this ring thing is kind of winding back up, and this thing's gonna start moving forward, and then it explodes as they're getting away. And they also notice a bunch of these little floating lights everywhere. The whole thing's really weird. They get that to their campsite. Niverine freaks out because these are her people. The lights go away. Tash tries to explain what happened with the magic thing and how weird it was. And okay, is it difference between in the circle and out of the circle? No, it's working now. Both times works. That's weird. They go to Brighamstead. They get to the gates. Guards are like, "Hail Valos!" And they're just saucy about it. Just, yeah, whatever. And I laugh. I'm like, I thought you were just gonna take the head out. And they're like, so can we retcon that? Can we go back to the gate? We take the head out. I'm like, no, I can't let you do that just to take the head out. You can run back in character and take the head out. That's what they ended up doing. They get sent to the gates. Niverine takes the elves somewhere. Nobody knows. It's a mystery. They go meet the Earl. First they see the God Tree. God Tree is this, basically it's an avatar of the primal gods that technically created the world and whatnot. Now, they're used to the story that all the gods left and took their clerics with them, but there's still some prime deities still here. But here's a God Tree, and Kisuku's like the water droplet, because there's a thing there. And Tash spouts off, "Hey, this is a God Tree. I've never seen one before. It's basically the avatar of the gods and whatnot." And they're like, "Oh, okay." Oh, there's also a giant cannon golem they're constructing over there. Ooh. And they go meet the Earl and Angela. And they present the head, Valos, and they get paid. And they're like, "Wait, do we get more for Stereolex too?" And they're like, "Okay." So they get an extra 20,000 for Stereolex, and then they request molds made of the heads sent to their place. And then they leave. And then they get back to Druvent. And they were discussing something with Azula, and I cannot remember what happened. But Sieg pissed Kisuku off. Kisuku stabbed him really hard. So Tash went to heal him, but there was like this, "Oh, my dear cat," brushing away the side of his hair and doing it all kind of lewd, I guess, and making Sieg uncomfortable. And it was just like 5 minutes of laughing. Azul was like, "Hey, while you were gone, magic stopped working for a little while." I'm like, "Oh, that happened to us too." I don't remember what happened after that. Next session's going to be great. I'm going to try to get these damn section recording things out right away. It's not going to happen. But thanks for watching.